Hey everybody, Mr. Justin here at the Hernando County Public Library System, and thank you so much for joining us for a science video today. And today we are making homemade crystals. You know, nice and shiny and very cool looking. We're making our own crystals. And what are crystals? Well, crystals are molecules that bind together, and sometimes they'll form a specific shapes. The crystals we're making today will kind of be square shape, and so that'd be kind of pretty cool. And so we have a little formation. But what we're going to start out with is we don't have crystals yet, so we're going to be making those crystals. So what I have is I have a jar, I have a pipe cleaner, got some string, got some hot water, scissors, pencil is important, measuring cups. Right now I need a tablespoon and a cup, and then borax. You can also do this with salt or with sugar. I chose borax just because it goes a little faster, but please use salt or sugar if you have that around the house. And also make sure that when you follow along with us or do this on your own, please make sure you do this with an adult helping you out every step of the way. So here's what we're going to go ahead and do is we are going to take the jar and we are going to make our snowflake with our pipe cleaner. So I'm going to fold my pipe cleaner in half. Fold it in half again. And then I'm going to take the scissors and we're going to cut. So I have 4 parts right here. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to take 2 of them, kind of twist them around a little bit. I'm going to take another one in the middle, twist that around a little bit so that it kind of stays. And you know what? Let's get our last one too. You can just use 3, but I'm going to use all 4. We're going to twist that around. And it doesn't need to be perfect, of course. All snowflakes are completely different, because that's kind of what we're going to make in the end, is it's going to look like a snowflake. And that works. It also looks like an octopus, but that's fine. And then I am going to take a little bit of string and I'm going to tie it to one of the edges. Let's take the long edge. And I'm just going to tie a knot. You can also use one of those like little metal hook things that you hang on an ornament with. Would work well with this too, but I'm going to use string for today, and there we go. And then we are going to go ahead and put our hot water into the jar. Again, you want to be careful about this, and we do need hot water. Cold water is not going to work as well. We'll explain that in a little bit. And so I measured it out, and I have 6 cups of water here. So let's see how far that's going to take us, because I want to go pretty far to the top of the jar. That's awesome. That does not pour very well. So that's approximately 3, but most of it ended up on the table, so that's fine. Let's do another one. And that's 2 right there. So that's about 4, 5. I think we ended up with about 6 cups of water. No, we had 7. So now we have about 6 cups of water in there because a lot ended up on the table. So again, want to do this maybe on a table that you don't mind getting wet, or maybe with a tablecloth. That would work perfectly. I'm making a mess, but that seems to be standard for me, but that's okay. So we have our hot water, and now we have our borax. Again, you can also use salt or sugar, and you want 1 tablespoon for 3 tablespoons for every cup. So we want we have 6 cups, about 18 tablespoons. So we're going to do 1, we're going to do 2, we're going to do 3, we're going to do 4, we're going to do 5, we're going to do 6, we're going to do 7, and we're going to stop at 9, and then we're going to mix. 9, 8, 9, and then we're going to mix. And you can see that it is actually going to be dissolving into the solution that we're making. We're adding water and we're putting in another item, so that is going to be called a solution. You can see that it's kind of cloudy still, but it has kind of dissolved into it. We have nothing on the ground or nothing on the bottom of the jar, so we're going to add more to it, to our solution. 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. You don't want to fill up all the way, because as you add more of your salt, sugar, or borax, it's going to get higher and higher. All right, so you can see that you keep mixing it until it gets to the point that it won't dissolve anymore. And so not only have you saturated the solution, but you've created a super saturation where it's no longer going to dissolve what you're putting into it. So I still see some borax at the bottom no matter how much I've mixed it. So we have super saturated this solution, which is exactly what we want to happen. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my pipe cleaner snowflake. I'm going to put it pretty high up like that, and I'm going to tie it around a pencil. It's kind of awkward, but we'll get a knot into it. You don't want it hanging down too far, because you don't want it to hit the bottom of the jar. There we go. Let's do that. Wind that around. So there we go, right there. And we're going to put it right there in the jar, and we're going to let it sit. And for this, we actually will need a little bit of patience, because this is actually going to take a little while, a little long. You might start to see some crystals form on your pipe cleaner within 2 to 3, maybe 4 hours. But really, the best way to wait is let it sit overnight. Wait 12 hours, maybe even 24 hours. And then when it's all done, you can pull it off, and you'll see some crystals that have formed all over the pipe cleaner. And here's the example that I made earlier this week, and we have it right there. And that is going to be what it looks like. You can see all the borax crystals that have formed on the pipe cleaner. So what happens is that when you have a hot water solution like we made, the borax dissolved into it, and because it was hot in the hot liquid, the borax molecules were further and further and further apart. But when it cooled, they got closer and closer and closer together, and when it cooled completely, they got close together, and that's when you kind of had the little crystals form on the pipe cleaner, because the pipe cleaner was in that solution the whole time. I used a little bit of blue food coloring when I made this one. You can see it didn't turn out very colorful, so in this case I just went with white. And then what you could do is when you're done with it, you could take it out, let it dry. You can even use it as a snowflake ornament. You can see right there it does look a little bit like a snowflake, and with the crystals on it. But again, we made a saturated and a super saturated solution. It went ahead and the hot water caused the molecules to kind of be separated, but once it cooled, it got closer and closer together, and crystals did form on the pipe cleaner. And so after a few hours, you would see that the crystals would form on this pipe cleaner like that, or like this, and then form what would look like a snowflake. And so the hot water will hold more crystals, more borax crystals than the cold water, which is why you do that. Again, you can do salt and sugar. My experience is sometimes it takes a little longer for the crystals to form with the salt and the sugar than the borax, but it's still a very cool experiment where we dissolved the borax or the salt or the sugar into the liquid, and it cooled and formed some crystals on the pipe cleaner that was hanging inside that solution. Well, thank you so much for joining us this week. Hopefully your experiment goes a little drier and a little less messy than mine, but I hope you all make some cool snowflakes and some cool crystal ornaments, and thank you so much for joining us. Bye.